leading your family and building a legacy, or just surviving? Tonight, we're getting real about becoming better men, stronger fathers, and unstoppable providers. Stick around.
Truth over fear. Truth over fear. Truth over fear.
What's up, everybody? If you're a man and you want to level up your family, your business, just yourself, this conversation with Antonio Garcia is the one for you. So let's get to it. Antonio, thank you for coming on the show. Tell the people a little about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Antonio Garcia. I've been a business consultant, business coach for a handful of years. So what I do is I work with different organizations, large and small, and what I do is I make sure that their operations are running efficiently. I make sure that their teams, their systems, their marketing, their sales are really, really refined. So at the end of the day, I just make sure that business owners are leveling up their companies and making sure that they're taking care of themselves in the process. I've also associated produced a TV show on Amazon Prime called 60 Day Hustle, which is pretty cool. It's kind of like a Shark Tank meets Survivor meeting. Just a couple of like show concepts. And so what we do is we give these business owners these frameworks of success, and the winner gets 100,000. And so season 2 is already out. They're doing a variation of that out in Asia. So that's an awesome, awesome show. I've
Mhm.
worked with different types of companies, all the way from like AI companies to construction to roofing to healthcare. It's really all over the place. And on a personal level, I'm married. It's actually my anniversary in a couple of days
Oh,
with my wife. Yeah,
nice.
yeah. So we've been together 9 and married 8.
Nice.
So we
Nice.
got
Nice. Congrats.
thank you, man.
Congratulations.
Thank you, man. They got 3 kids too. I got a little girl and twin boys.
Oh, nice.
And they're
Nice.
all like under 5 years old, so they're kind of pretty young.
Okay, no, that's good. Yeah, I have three myself, all girls, so I'm a girl
Oh
dad.
yeah, there you
Um, but no, it's cool, man. I think obviously, uh, one of the things that I told you when we first talked over the phone was, I've always wanted to have a conversation on this podcast about men in general and just being better men, right, for their families.
go. Mhm.
And one of the things too, kind of when you mentioned having kids, it's like a lot of men don't feel ready to have kids.
Mhm.
And what I tell people is, or guys that I talk to that don't have any and are kind of fearful of that. I don't know how you felt when you had your kid, your first one, but it's something where I was just like, as soon as I held her and she was born, like it's like a switch or something flips inside you where you are ready. Like you're instantly ready, mentally. Like I don't know. For me, it kind of felt that way. I don't know. What kind of feelings you had when your
Yeah.
kid was first born was
Well,
it,
well, my firstborn was also a daughter, and I think
mm,
if and there's a book that I recommend people write down, so especially if you're a father to daughters. It's called Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters. It's by Dr. Meg Meeker, and a big thing for me is like I'm an avid reader. Not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers, and the reason why that I'm offering that is because I had a really different perspective on fatherhood, being that I knew that I was going to have a daughter versus like having a son. What you're describing is kind of it's the Papa Bear gene, and men are designed to be that way. Women, their mama gene starts to express themselves when they're going through pregnancy. The whirlwind of hormones, emotions, everything. Like if you ever study epigenetics, if you look at the literature of like Dr. Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, there's several others where because how you think can actually express different genomes inside of your own body, the different genes in your body. And for guys, we don't really bond or that part activates until we visually, like literally see the child. And that's when there's this kind of flip that happens. That's when that Papa Bear gene like happens where, fathers like yourself will say like, I can't describe what it is, but it was such an automatic fucking switch for me that immediately I knew that if any harm on any level came to this child, I would fucking go ballistic. No questions asked. And it's like it's like, how do you describe that switch? It's like, I don't know, man. Have a baby. It's like it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
No, and and I think there's a lot of good men out there that feel that way, and again, you know they don't have families yet because it's that I got to be financially ready, right? I got to have somewhere to live that's mine. There's so many things that growing up and being in this world, you go to work and
It's
that's
definitely
pain,
yeah.
and it's that feeling of, oh, am I ready for this? Because you're honestly, man, if unless you grew up kind of rich or some inheritance, like you got to work for everything you
Well,
got, right?
well, that's definitely a perspective. I think so too, and I think it's natural to want to make sure that your house is in order before you bring on
Yes.
a child, and I feel like that's natural. And I
Hmm.
feel like, especially when you're taking when you are embarking on a journey like this of parenthood, it is very natural to kind of have self-doubt. It's like that if you're trying to go through law school. It's like that if you're trying to go through like military boot camp. And this is kind of the ultimate test. And every single parent feels that way, even if they start having multiples. Just like, fuck, like I have one. Can I handle two? Can I handle three? And it doesn't ever really go away. It does get easier, but I would say like that is something that's natural for people. I think what's always good is to kind of put things in perspective, because you could have your money in order, you could have your house in order, you could have kind of what you mentioned, everything you listed off, like places to stay, all that things, but you could have a foul, horrible relationship with the baby mama. You could have, porn addictions, gambling addictions. You could have, problems with managing money. Like, there's a lot of things that you could have. So you could get maybe the material things handled, but you really need to make sure that your emotional state is good. Your mental state, emotional and mental are different. Your spiritual. So it does take you on a journey. And I'll just say this, I'll wrap up with this one quick point. And this is where no book or nothing, or no talk with your mom or your abuelita or your father or anybody can really exactly like impart this onto you, which is that
Hmm.
when you're introduced to your first child, you are only then introduced to your life's greatest teacher. That what I learned about endurance, what I learned about tolerance, my bullshit meter was very different. I can cuss on here, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
So my
Free speech.
yeah, so my bullshit meter for people was fucking different. Becoming a father, so all these things um, were so different for me after I had a kid. And I didn't learn that or really kind of activated that on the level that I know that I could unless I was a parent.
Yeah. No, that's true. It's like, I guess it's part of that flip, that switch that goes on. But one of the things that we could talk about here is, you're part of the Modex group,
Mhm.
Modern Exodus by Ian. Um, what made you want to join that? Just
It was actually following Ian.
okay.
The so in my space, like working with businesses, is that you get to see a lot of very different people. So you get to see like so I have really close circles with some of the highest influencers out there. I've done like a ton of masterminds. I've done a lot of different groups. I've invested over six figures in being in different masterminds, like a
Mhm.
healthy six figures of being in different masterminds. And there's some that are like 5,000 a month, 40,000 a year. Another one is like 3,000 a month. Or what I've invested in a lot of them, and some that are in marketing, some that are in real estate, some that are in mindset. Really, kind of the list goes on. And the reason why that, and I actually kind of pulled away from it for a little while. And the big reason for that was because a lot of those masterminds ended up kind of evolving into being like a pitch fest. That people with money would come in and then they would pitch like this project, invest in this, get involved in this thing, and a lot of them would kind of go south. Some panned out pretty well, and there's other ones that like it's not good at all. In fact, there's actually quite a few influencers that have been indicted, like very very famous influencers that have been indicted and in trouble with the law by running a Ponzi scheme. And so these are really big faces that you would recognize. Um, so, so for me, the reason why that I liked the Modern Exodus was because of Ian Went, his consistency.
Mhm.
I met Ian actually here in Las Vegas at a mastermind called Power Room, and he was brought on for a panel with Elevator Night with Dan Fleischman, and he talked about American principles, and he talked about kind of mindset and his brand Patriot Gear. And so I liked what he was about. I've always watched his stuff, and I've always been engaged in what he does for the last, probably like 5 years, 6 years, something like that.
Mhm.
And what I liked about him is that he was very, very consistent. And that's like what you would want with anybody, any friend, any coworker, any any business
Yeah,
partner
yeah,
is like be consistent in who you are and don't try to
yeah.
do crazy shady shit that can bite you in the ass. And Ian has been very consistent. So when he was rolling out about Modern Exodus, I wanted to jump in and just kind of see what it's all about and not necessarily dip my toe into it, but I really wanted to just dive in, contribute, see what kind of guys are in there, and just do my part in helping them and allowing myself to be helped by them too.
Yeah, no, I think what he's doing there um, is going to help a lot of the men that are in there. Um, and yeah, Ian, I've been following Ian, yeah, like a good 5 6 years now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I got to meet him in person in April. My family we did a road trip to Idaho, Wyoming, all that stuff, and we stopped at his store, so I got to meet him in person.
yeah,
He's a really good dude, and yeah, I will agree. He's consistent. He's you know there are a lot of influencers that do things for likes and popularity, and I'm not calling him an influencer, but like he does do the content. But there's a lot of
yeah.
people that do that for just the attention. You know.
Yeah. You can tell who is just riding the algorithmic wave, who's
Hmm.
basically, and I think there's a lot of Christian influencers that are kind of like that. There's some that are constantly painting their hair like red and blue and green because they get more likes. I actually think that when you look at how an algorithm is kind of constructed, in a biblical sense, like it's kind of like the devil, right? And I feel like a lot of these influencers are a slave to the algorithm, and their principles can waver. And
Oh
so one
yeah.
thing with Ian is that he was consistent, but not that he's consistent on his posts or not that he was consistent on his um, his topics, but more consistent in his principles.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
very consistent of like, I don't like this thing or I stand for this thing. And I may have been supporting this one person here, but they pivoted. So I don't support them anymore. They're not my person anymore. So very,
Yeah.
very principled kind of on that. That's where his consistency, I think, really shined.
Yeah, and I think that's what, like, I'm sure yourself and me, that's what I appreciate about him. That he keeps it real no matter what, and because as someone, for example, that supported that same guy, you
Mhm.
know, um, there's a lot of things that I don't agree with, and then when we call that out, we kind of get what are you, a liberal now? And like, no, there's just some stuff doesn't add up, but no, but what he's doing there, I think, is great for men, and I just think in general, I think for the culture, right? One of the things that's been on my mind recently, especially with the kind of content we do like political stuff, but we also try to keep it real, get people to be more informed, not be so focused on right or left, but hey, this is what it is.
Yeah.
We don't think this is good, or this is what it is. We think this is pretty good, but you decide. It's up to you to decide what you want to do. um you know we do that content to get people to think more, to you know switch the culture a little bit, so to speak. And I think part of the reason the culture is the way it is because a lot of the men aren't as strong as they could be. They aren't outspoken as they should be. And I think a lot of the stuff that goes on, whether it's politically, culturally, is because we don't take a grasp of that, ourselves, for ourselves, and then within our families, and then, it spreads in our communities, our cities, our states, and all that. So I think that that kind of stuff has been on my mind a lot recently, especially the last couple of weeks, about just, how do we better ourselves, individually, so that as a collective later on, we course correct whatever we see that's wrong with the culture, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I think the most important thing is just kind of figuring out what your core values are. Because I think it's really easy for people to kind of jump on bandwagons rather quickly. And especially if they don't know what they stand for, if they don't know kind of who they are as people, because we're not always going to have aligned opinions. We're like, there's probably some things that you, Dan, that you believe in that maybe I have a different point of view. And that's okay. We shouldn't want to have everybody think and act the same way, because that just doesn't make you any better than anybody else. So there has to be a little bit of a gray area where, like, I have to allow myself to be open enough to hear maybe a perspective that you can offer that can help me, and vice versa. But part of that journey is really looking within and being like, okay, what do I stand for? What do I find is extremely evil? What would I kill for and go to jail for? Well, what's something that if I saw happen across the street that I would get out and help? What are some things that I find beautiful? What are some things that I wish that more people would love? So going through that process is not easy, because it really peels back the onion of what your essence is as a person, who you are, and what you stand for. And I think there's a couple different exercises that you can do to basically identify what your core values are. Mine are like authenticity, positivity, work ethic, accountability, and integrity. I don't get into business partnerships with people that don't have those. If I do, I pull out once they demonstrate the opposite of those things. So, for me personally, when I realize that if there's a politician or if there's a coworker, not that I have like a coworker, but like, or a business partner, or just anybody, a friend in my life, where if they're defying those core values, I don't fuck with them. Because if someone is not authentic and they're just fake around me, I don't roll with them. I don't have them around me. I don't have them around my family. I don't do business with them. If I know they're acting fake, that's not for me. If I know, for me, I like work ethic. So if someone is lazy, I don't fuck with that either. If someone is not accountable and they're just deflecting, they're always blaming things on others, I don't roll with them either. If someone is not having high moral standards, if they're not integrous, if they're not doing the right thing, they're trying to be sneaky, I don't work with them either. And the last one is positivity. If someone is constantly negative and like bringing people down, and they're just a pain in the ass because they're always pessimistic, I don't fuck with those people either. So I think it's important to start with yourself on that front, because then you're going to gravitate towards groups or projects or initiatives or businesses or activism that is in alignment with who you are. Not that you're changing yourself to fit into a wave. And I feel like more people need to do that generally, both men and women. But when you do have that, then you have to be okay with having respectful confrontation. Like there's a certain point where you plant your foot, like you plant your flag, where I'm not moving from this mountain. I'm not making this get easy for you. I'm going to confront you on this. And I think confrontation is good. I think confrontation is necessary. I think people that want to tiptoe around something eggshells, it's just being a pussy, dude. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's okay to confront something. It's okay to get in the face, and you could do it respectfully. You could do it diplomatically, and you could do it in another way where you're just kind of letting them know what time it is. But you have to do that, because what it does is it creates boundaries of what someone can or can't do. Right now in America, and I think in other countries too, is that people have gotten really lazy, and people have gotten apathetic, where when boundaries are being crossed by the state, that people are just allowing it. They're not putting their foot down. And so it's like, if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. So I think that's the most important thing, is you got to figure out who you are, and then align yourself with something that is true to you. And then basically ask yourself, like, what are you willing to die for? Like, what is the ultimate cause there? And that could be a ton of different things, and that could look different from person to person. And thank God for that. You might need somebody that really is passionate about veteran rights. Maybe someone's really passionate about homelessness. Someone's really passionate about protecting kids or women's issues or fiscal responsibility. Like you don't know, and I think like if someone else is doing that, that's awesome because that's not my passion. I'd rather be in something else. But we're all collectively trying to make everything better.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. And it's funny that you said all that because, like I told you before, it was supposed to be my brother-in-law, Danny, and myself tonight. And I don't know how many times on the show Danny has said he's an optimist because he doesn't like, like there's no use in being pessimistic and bringing everybody down or every topic down or making everything doom and gloom. Um, and that's one of the reasons we started this. The other reason was for families to start having tough conversations because, you know, the thing that we saw, especially during COVID, and honestly, since, Trump first ran, really, how families were just divided because of disagreements, political disagreements, or, during COVID, it was disagreements on how, the response was being done. Some people were agreeing with everything that was instituted, others weren't. So a lot of families stopped talking to each other um, because of those disagreements. And one of the reasons we started this is because hey, we want to make conversations cool, and not just talking about a lot of people. Danny says this all the time. There's a lot of guys that can rattle off all kinds of stats. What happened in the game yesterday and this and that, just boom, boom, boom. But they can't tell you anything about what really affects, their city, their taxes, their bills, and all that stuff. And it's just having the conversation to be better informed, but also more than anything, to be able to have that conversation to stay united, whether you agree or disagree. And because we feel that a lot of these things that get thrown at us to make us disagree and separate us is what causes all this chaos. And the more people are divided, the easier it is to control them, the easier it is for the government to be fraudulent or whatever. For all these things that really do affect us more than that simple disagreement, because we probably agree on 80% of everything else, but we focus on those extremes. And then you know the country, the community, the city, your family is torn apart. And I think like what you said, right, having those conversations is still good, even if they're tough. It's as long as you're not being combative, you're not being physical, but hey, get to know where I'm coming from, I'll get to know where you're coming from. We might disagree still, but at least we're able to have that conversation and know that hey, maybe on this one thing it's not it, but on everything else, oh, okay, maybe we agree here, we agree here, we're in line on more than what the narrative, the media, the social media, whatever you want to call it, makes it out to be.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah. So you know, so that's why I was saying if Danny was here, I think you would have got along with him. Um,
Well,
but yeah,
I,
go ahead.
I think a big thing on that is just that people are not being. There's a couple things that are happening, especially with Gen Z, and you're looking at kind of the upcoming generations where in their entire existence, they've been inundated and just baptized in the digital world, whereas kind of before in the past people were reading essentially the same thing. Like it's the same magazine, the same like handful of channels, and people were a little bit more articulate. They were more kind of in social circles, like they weren't on their phone. So people were far more open to just kind of having like conversation. Yes, there was disagreements. Yes,
Mhm.
if you think about Vietnam and like a lot of the protests around that, yes, throughout history there was definitely that. And I think now it's kind of higher more than ever because of how the information is being presented and how one should treat the other if there is an agreement. So if you agree with this particular narrative, and that's you feel like a buzzword that's constantly being used is like, I just believe in human decency, you should just be a decent person, you should just do
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
right?
yep.
And who anyone that doesn't feel that way or doesn't believe that, then what they have also given them is this kind of playbook of how to treat other people. And uh, there's no inquisitive frame of mind. There's no like, how did you land on this? Is there something that maybe I missed that I should maybe adopt or learn from you? I kind of had a different perspective. Can you educate me on this? And oftentimes, like some people will say, if you don't even know, I shouldn't have a conversation with you. It's just because they can't back it up. And so I feel like nowadays you just have way more people that it's easier for them just to label, but they're not engaged in any type of discourse. They don't know how to debate. They don't know how to ask questions. They don't know how to have an open mind. They're just there to kind of argue and to kind of
Just
be this,
yell.
just yell and just kind of be this megaphone for
Yeah.
something that they believe in that they haven't actually completely hashed out.
Mm.
So and the thing is that you can make a lot of points for one narrative over another by just using gaslighting tactics, by using these kind of communication and manipulation tactics, which is kind of what their whole mo is. Like
Yeah,
people
yeah.
don't, yeah, people don't realize that, like, hey, if you do anything in sales or marketing and you're really good, you can identify when someone is, trying to guilt trip you. They're trying to
Hmm.
manipulate you. They're trying to gaslight you. And
Hmm.
you don't think in this world of highly sensationalized news that it's not psychological warfare. You don't think
Hmm.
that they're using certain things or certain hand placements to kind of have you sway one way or another. So I think that's a big reason why, is just that people don't know how to communicate with each other on that level anymore. But I think it's getting better, and I think, honestly, like, not to kind of pivot too hard, but I think that's probably one of the reasons why that Charlie Kirk was assassinated, because he was one of the people that did kind of have a lot of grace in the debating and maintained composure and had facts and understood people. And that's really dangerous, because to some people, because what it does is it models what disagreements and conversations could look like.
Sure. Yeah,
And if
yeah.
you have an entire generation or millions and millions of people that are now doing that, then those tactics that you were mentioning won't work, because now we can actually talk things through.
No, that's a very good point. Because we've we've dealt with it before. We've had liberals call us racist. Because X reason. We've had conservatives, well, quote unquote, conservative people on the right, call us anti-Semites for other reasons, and it's like, we don't win. It's just a disagreement on a topic, and you know, but if they yell loud enough that you are quote unquote the bad guy,
Right.
then there's a lot of people that do fall into that, and that's the one thing that we want to avoid, right? And it goes back to what you were saying about having those
Well,
those conversations.
yeah. Well, we're also a tribal species. So, and
No, you're good. Hold on, give me 1 second. I think this thing. Ah, all right, you're there.
sweet, man.
Go for it. Go for it.
Um, I think I was hitting on that. Like, we're also, hey, what's up, Christian? How are you?
How's it
Um,
going, man? Good to see you.
yeah. So that we're a tribal species. Like, back in the day, like, one of the worst things that you can do to another human was actually kick them away from the tribe. Like, if someone was, banned from society, if someone was outcast, that was considered in a lot of cultures worse than death. And so we're kind of in a space right now, especially in the digital age, where kind of face to face interactions are going down and the digital interactions are going up, are shooting through the roof. And so it's easy just to call someone like a racist. It's easy to call someone an anti-Semite. It's easy to do that, and basically try to have that exact same effect, is trying to outcast them or cancel them in today's society, where like now it can impact their business, it can impact their wherewithal, their reputation. So what it is, it's essentially a type of a character destruction. And nowadays it's just so much easier to do. And then you literally have switches where you could kick someone off a certain platform, or they say
Yeah.
if the moderator or the administrator or the platform holder, they're like, oh, I don't like what Dan said. Now you can ban them. Now you can demonetize them. So the consequences of kind of speaking out differently today is very different than what it was before. So, and I think people are, you know, a little bit more careful with stuff like that, because it could really damage maybe income, and it could damage sponsorships, especially in this digital age, endorsements. So the consequences are a little bit higher today than it was, like, let's just say even 20 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, no, and it's true, and it's different, but similar to what you're saying. It is like kicking someone out of the tribe. It's like, what your thoughts, what you do, what you say isn't welcome here, and it's like, oh well, I can't be a part of the conversation. I can't be a part of, what's going on here.
Right.
Um, and it is, it's to take people down, and yeah, this digital world, there's a lot of people that make money off of, doing social media, doing their content, spreading whatever message they do, whether that's fitness, whether it's business, political, whatever their niche is. It's like a label like that, doesn't care about what you're talking about. It's one of those where it can stick, and
Well,
you
that's what
lose
kind
you lose
of,
what you work for.
yeah, and in this day and age, it's far more automatic.
Hmm.
In the sense that, there's that kind of classic saying, innocent until proven guilty. And there was this really, especially during COVID, there was a really big streak of, it was like now there's this new term like called dubbed misinformation. And an event would happen, and then immediately, like, by immediately I mean literally within hours or within like minutes, is that you, on like Facebook or Instagram or any other place, they would have these tags of like, oh, it was verified, or this is untrue, or this is false information, or whatever it is, right? But it's like when you get a piece of information, whatever it is, even like an assassination, for example, or if there's like a worldwide event, you people have to figure out like what the facts are. There's an investigation, and then you're kind of untangling what occurred, putting everything together, and then presenting something. That takes time. And so you had all these kind of fact checkers come in and like quickly label, or like label someone like, oh, you're spreading misinformation, oh, you're doing this. And it's like literally a switch. So I think that we're just in a completely different, unprecedented age, and I think that people are rather nervous on doing stuff like that. But I think the tides are changing a little bit.
I think the word unprecedented is, spot on because what's ringing to me is I think of Blue Sky, right? These are the people that had full control of Twitter when it was Twitter, and and they kind of shunned themselves out as soon as they lost control of X, right, with the whole buyout and everything, and it just makes me wonder, them isolating themselves because it's just a minefield on Blue Sky. You really got to watch what you say over there, and it's I can't imagine. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you build it. It's they're building an echo chamber over there, right? Just
their own
you hear what you
zeitgeist.
want to hear, yeah, and that's it. But you know, let's talk about family a little bit. So you do a podcast with your wife called Soul to My Salsa. Did I get it right?
yeah, yeah.
All right. Tell us a little bit about that podcast.
Well, that's kind of what we get a lot, is that so my wife's been retired for over 5 years now, and I'm the breadwinner of the family, and I think a lot of people kind of ask us, how do you guys do it? Like, you're in a interracial marriage, you have kids, you have twins, your wife did a home birth with the twins, and you've been paying all the bills this time. How did you do that? And so I would constantly get that. And the thing that really sticks out to me the most is, when people meet us like in person, like if we're going out to dinner, if we're like, meeting with your wife or like with your family, and just the constant thing that we got was like, man, you guys really seem to like each other. It seems like you guys actually get along, that you guys actually have good chemistry. Like that's the number one thing that people tell us, is that you guys sure like each other. Like it's not even love. It's like you guys like each other. And we're like, yeah, isn't that what you're supposed to do? And so she just actually really fascinated me. Like I was not into Asian women at all. I remember like living in California, and I used to work at Monterey Park, just off of the 10 over there, and there's a lot of Asian people right in Monterey Park.
Mm.
And so I would have some women be interested in me, and I'm like, nah, I don't mess with all that. White girls, black girls, Latinas, mixed, right in my way, but move it along, Ling Ling. I don't want any of that. And then and then I met my wife, and she just fascinated me. Like she's a fourth degree black belt Taekwondo. She speaks 3 languages, Japanese. She's learning Spanish now, so that's 4.
Nice.
She has a biochemistry degree. She lived in Japan for a while. Like she was just fascinating. She was always like interesting, and she's just like a golden retriever. So if you see any of the episodes, she's just like happy go lucky. She's just a happy go lucky person. And so one of my friends is one of my accountability partners. He's the producer of a lot of major podcasts, including like someone like Ed Milet. Ed Milet runs Ed Milet's podcast. And he just he just knows how I am. And he knows, my wife too. He's like, have you guys ever thought about putting something together? And we're like, I guess. So we gave it a shot, and it's been building a lot of momentum. But what we do talk about is like what works for us, things that we've seen, things around culture, understanding that there's cultural differences, how to kind of meet in the middle, because Koreans are take away everything you've seen at the World Cup when the Mexicans and the Koreans are fucking like partying. Outside of maybe that, they're very, very, very different cultures.
Was that a rough day at the house?
It's so different. Like it's such a different culture, and so like if Mexicans are over here on this side of the spectrum, Koreans are definitely on the other side with just everything else other than maybe the drinking. But outside of that, it's like very different. If you look at telenovelas and like Korean dramas, it's so different. How Latinos view masculine men with like hairy chests with a fucking gold medallion and like hair everywhere,
and then an AK,
yeah, and a fucking horse and shit riding with like listening to Chente, something like that. Yeah, and you compare that to the Koreans with
K-pop.
K-pop. They look like basically like they look like a dolphin, like with no hair, and they're just this. They look like a boiled egg that's freshly peeled, and that's their skin. So it's just very, very different. But we started it to kind of share our story and different tips and tricks that worked in our marriage, because I think more and more people are kind of going outside of their culture. They're going outside of, there's just more interracial couples. And I think like our story has really helped a lot of folks where it's like, oh, I'm Irish and my wife is Vietnamese, that we ran into the same thing. Or like, hey, I'm Colombian and my husband is such and such. And it's like you see some commonalities there that we're able to kind of address some things. And it's been a lot of fun. It's like almost therapeutic doing things with my wife.
Yeah, no, I can imagine the different cultures. I think we were talking about before with, the Mexicans being a little more, I forgot exactly. We were talking about it, and basically like how Koreans, family. I think where family is so close. And in the Korean, it's a little different, and how they've been having a lot of their suicide numbers going up.
Well, it's not just
like
that it's not just that their suicide rate is going up. They are number 1 in the world, and followed closely, I think, by Japan. So you have a culture where, like South Korea fits inside of the state of Nevada. It is not a large country.
Wow.
They don't have like an incredible amount of natural resources like we do. We can dig up metals and oil and all kinds of things.
Hell yeah.
Lumber. There's a lot of things that we could do here, and South Korea doesn't have that. So the culture over there is really much into pushing out intellectual property. Samsung, Kia, it's innovation, 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 and that's why you see also South Korea being kind of the quote unquote entertainment hub of Asia. Anything that Korea does, Asia does thereafter. And I think that's why like their K-pop, their K-dramas, like everything is influenced by South Korea. And so you have this culture where your grades really matter, where your their version of the SATs really matter. That determines the school that you go to. That will then determine the type of job that you can get, the type of money that you can make, the family that you can have, right? And so if you mess up anything along the way, it feels like your world is done. So there's a lot of suicide in South Korea by far, and Japan is not too far off. And I think and I think a lot of it is because there's this kind of achiever syndrome out there. And one of the things that I wish that Koreans could adopt from Mexicans is to have a tighter family unit where it's not so much this kind of hierarchical thing. Where because I think with a lot of Latinos, like it's not like that. There is respect for elders and things like that, but it's not super rigid. You can have like a gang of people come to a party and it's like, oh, that's your tío. Oh, that's your tia. Oh, yeah, it's your primo. It's like, well, you're basically telling like they're just it's family. It's family. Even though they have nothing to do with you. They're just like, oh, yeah, it's like, what's up, tío? And with Koreans, it's very, very different. So that's one of the things that I really wish that they would have is that they would have more understanding and grace and love within their family, because I think what it does is allows people to kind of make more mistakes and find their way versus hey, if you didn't get this test score, that means that you can't go here, and then you're not going to make money, and then you can't help the family, and then you're stupid, and it's embarrassing to us, and you hurt our reputation. It's like a lot kind of there's a lot that's imposed on that, and that pressure is really high where people are just like, I'd rather end my life because it feels like I just have to do what you tell me. And Mexicans aren't really like that. That's like not a struggle that they kind of get into. I think the biggest thing that they really instill in their children is just, I think work ethic is a really big one. It's like dale ganas, like get after it, andale. Like it's more that. It's more give whatever you do, give it everything you have. Just be a hard worker. Just get after it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's true, and you know, the you're right. The Mexican family is interesting because they'll either support you or they'll be the ones to tear you down, right?
Yeah, well, and you said Mexican family because it's also got to be the right denomination because
Yeah.
there also is a little bit of that shaming culture where, ooh, your kid doesn't have good grades, you're gonna have to sit in the back aisle of church on Sunday, you know.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of that too, so you know it pushes you, and some people, you know, it's just yeah, it's a new
It's
age.
like it's a different type, right? Where you know, I think Danny said it a few times on the podcast too. It's like you go and start your business, and then your family's like, oh, un negocio, no mames, güey. Like they'll be the ones that will just try to shut your dreams down before you get
Right.
started.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know,
It's unfortunate sometimes. I know that there's some people that really kind of have that. I feel really blessed in the sense that like my parents weren't really like that. That their kind of mentality was just like, look, man, we came to America, so I'm second generation. My parents moved from Mexico, and they're like, you know, you're in America, like try out different things. There's different opportunities here that we don't really have in Tepic, Nayarit. Like we don't have those out here, and so for them, they were more encouraging of like to try different things to see what could work for you, just to be successful in whatever it is that kind of that maybe they're not even wary of. But I feel like a big part of maybe where some family members they hate on each other is because a lot of them have this kind of provider mentality that you see this with like a lot of helicopter moms. You see this with like abuelitas and divorcees and parents where like their whole world is their family. which is nothing wrong with it, but there's a certain degree where it's a little unhealthy. And I think this is where Mexicans can fucking do a better job, is because like when someone is trying to level up, the one of the like the thoughts that can go in someone is like they're no longer going to need me, and then I wouldn't know what to do. So sometimes they'll make these tongue-in-cheek remarks, these little kind of jabs at you to try to subconsciously keep you
Bring you
around
down.
because
Mhm.
that's because you're a part of their identity. And so that's, I think, a really hard thing for some people to kind of grasp, that concept of like maybe your parents or your family is kind of doing that because you being at a different level or go exploring a different side of life is so alien to them that they don't know kind of how to interact with you, and that can break that family dynamic in a weird way. We're like, oh shit, now you're an attorney at Yale, I'm just a cook, or I'm just a landscaper, or I'm just a
Shit, I'm still at
construction guy.
McDonald's.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh shit, right? It's
I'm
like,
working
how
at
do I?
Target. Shit.
Yeah, yeah, and so you have these folks in our community where they're like, and I know deep down it's just because it's the thinking is like I don't. I want to be of value to them and I want them to depend on me. And sometimes they'll say things to keep you dependent, unbeknownst to them. But I feel like that's kind of one of the things that we need to be better on is kind of encouraging them and allowing them to move in different places. Because I think the Latino community, especially, they need to be better at executional performance. For sure. Koreans are stellar are at executional performance. They can plan and do things, and they're very meticulous and they're fucking strategic. They're really really good on that stuff. Maybe not Italians, maybe not like other folks, maybe not like so, but they can do it. And with the places where I see Mexicans, for example, that are really good at that is in the fucked up place, which is the cartels. That is very militarized. But we can't do that as people when we're building businesses, we're building nonprofits, we're building better infrastructure, we're getting our shit lined up. I don't really see that on that level because everyone is more focused on kind of the work ethic on the labor side. Like hard work is labor, not hard work is intellect. And I think if
Right.
we were to start shifting from labor to mentality, I think you're going to see a very different Latino culture in one generation.
That's a good point. Um,
Thanks, man.
I think
so
we've all heard this saying, smart for what we want, right? In Spanish or in English. But I have a friend who you got into the whole betting thing, and he's telling me, and you gotta get good at it, you gotta invest, you gotta do it. And he's telling me, the algorithms that he's going through and he's doing all this. And I go, and he goes, "Oh, the only thing I got to check it all the time. I'm always on my phone now. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the graphs go up. I'm looking at how the teams do." And I go, "So you're kind of doing stock trading?" "No, I'm on Prize Picks." And it's like, it's you're doing the same work that you could do for, daily trading or whatever it is. And,
Yeah.
but it's what we put our efforts into. And it's like sometimes it's more the more leisure stuff is what attracts our hot Latino Hispanic blood, and we just wanna the discipline is not there. I
yeah,
could tell you
everybody
that.
wants a quick win, a quick, easy win. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, I would agree with that. That there's kind of because I think the culture is actually rather emotional. It's a very passionate culture,
Very
and
passionate.
so we're quick to anger, we're quick to love, we're quick to have fun, we're quick to those things. And I feel like if we were able to kind of hunker down and think more long term, I do believe that a lot of things can change. The organization or group of people that I would probably suggest Mexicans real, and I'm only harping on Mexicans because like that's what I am. But I mean, if Puerto
Get
Ricans
'em.
and Colombians and
Get
Dominicans and
now
all
get
that
them
stuff,
too. Get
yeah,
them
get
too. We're just gonna
it.
we're throwing everybody under an umbrella
yeah,
right now. We are
yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah. All rice and beans, y'all can be in
Yeah.
this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think studying even a group like the Mormon Church, for example, where they have
Mhm.
hundreds of billions of dollars in assets under management, AUM, assets under management. And they kind of did things in a pretty effective way. And that's kind of one of the groups alongside Mexicans actually that I feel like are being targeted is more. I think Mormons are going to have my prediction is that you're going to have kind of an attack on Mormons in the not too
I
distant
was I was
future.
just about to ask Daniel, can we invade them for that money that they got stored up?
Yeah. Yeah. So Utah feels like it's a little bit of like the Switzerland to the United, like what Switzerland is to Europe is what Utah is for the United States. But also it's if you look at kind of the similarities, other than maybe the partying, the drinking, and everything else, if you take that out, but they're deeply religious, they're very family oriented. They believe in big families too, as well. Like Mormons don't typically have one kid; it's like multiple kids.
They're trying to
Um,
replace us.
yeah, I think you can make an argument for Muslims too, as well, and others. But
Yeah, you got him.
yeah, and so they're really big, but they're also so you have kind of those things where they're like devout religious, strong sense of principles, what's right and what's wrong, which is not too far off from like Catholicism. Not with Mormonism and Catholicism is that they're the same. It's just that you have a devout group of people of like, this is right, this is wrong, this is what I believe and this is what I don't believe in. And they're also familial. They have strong family values, and they have big families, and they're constant. They're very communal. That's some of the similarities. The differences in the Mormon community is that there's this powerful emphasis on education, with like BYU out in Hawaii, BYU out in Utah. So there's a big emphasis on entrepreneurship, on mission work, and there's this big emphasis on kind of group business projects within the Mormon community. So you have one billionaire over here that helps build out some healthcare facilities for this new batch of BYU students that are coming in with like, these degrees. And so they kind of help each other out. And that's why they're so freaking powerful. They're also very humble. It's not like they're flaunting any of this stuff either. They are quietly building hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars and billions of dollars through their church and a bunch of other things where they can have these initiatives. Now they have these resources where they can make powerful impacts to what they think is right. And I think imagine only if the Hispanic community did something along those lines to what we think is good that empowers us and others, not to alienate any other cultures, but just that the one thing that the World Cup has shown is that people freaking love us. And also that we love them.
Let's
There's
go.
there's so many videos of like Japanese and Koreans and like Scottish people and Australians coming to Monterrey, to Guadalajara, to Mexico City, and they're treated with kindness, with respect, with love. I buy you a drink, you get me a cerveza. Let's go upside down. Let's fucking party. Let's have fun. Let's be respectful, unless you're an opposing team, and then it's that ass. But
Then I might throw beer at you.
yeah, I might throw a beer, and then I'll say I'm sorry, and then we'll have some horchata or something afterwards, some flan. And so I think people are seeing like everyone is walking away. Australians, Japanese, Korean, everybody is walking away from Mexico, going back to the country, being like, they got it right. Like
Yeah.
these people over here, like they're so much fun.
Yeah.
They were a blast. Like how
Yeah.
I couldn't keep up
Well,
with them. Like so,
The air
in America
conditioning was
too.
nice.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So that's what's made me like really happy to see is like it made me really believe in a way like world peace is really possible because I know you mentioned like people remembering stats for a game, but I do think that there's a powerful place in sports in our society because it is people striving for excellence. There
Mhm.
are winners and fucking losers. You are judged on your fucking performance. And that's business. That's life.
Yeah.
That's everywhere. So I think it's a really good thing to have. And we're with the World Cup right now, it's been really showing that, dude, we can get along. We can have fun. We can learn from each other, even though we don't understand the languages. We can get along and we can make this
Mhm.
place better. So, and I feel like Mexico has been at the forefront of that. Of like, this is how it should be done.
I
No,
think
I've been.
I think.
Go
Sorry,
ahead.
Daniel. I
No,
think
no.
the World Cup definitely flipped the narrative. For them, right?
Mhm,
I think they're going back, going, "We have it all wrong." They're
mhm.
pretty tight. They're pretty cool over there. I don't know
Yeah.
about Canada. I mean, we could stop. We could stop there. USA and Mexico are pretty tight. Don't know about up there, but I think they're going back, going, "We need some of that influence over here." And like you said, it's just what we have in common. USA, Canada, Mexico, predominantly Catholic Christians. That's what we have in common. And Oh man, it is. I have never been more patriotic, dude, and I'm happy that they're going back, with
Mhm.
more insight of what it is to be
Mhm.
American, and the
Yeah,
freedoms that we have.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
not the narrative. That's the thing with medias, right? And obviously we focus on our media here, but from the clips you're seeing, people are saying, "Hey, my media told me America was this, and this, and it's not even close to that." So, yeah, they're leaving with a better sense of what reality is really like here. Kind of like I said earlier, it's like, we could focus on the extremes that we don't agree on, or we can focus on the 70 to 80% that we do. For that
Well,
majority of people every day, once they get to know each other, hey, it's no big deal.
yeah, I do agree with that. In the sense that, but at the same time, like people can only respond to something in which they're familiar with, and if you're constantly being presented, like imagine if you guys grew up in a household where the only thing that was presented to you that is Republicans are bad, that's your concept. Like
Mhm.
that's your frame of mind moving forward. Like there's no kind of way around it. And so I think that you have a lot of people that if they're watching things like The View, View is kind of an extreme example
Yeah,
of
yeah,
just this is the facts and things are being presented as the facts, and no one really has that kind of investigative skill where it's like you're not only questioning what's been given to you, but you're also taking the steps to actually find out the truth. But you know what, maybe the information that I'm getting here is not accurate. Maybe what the FBI is telling me is not completely accurate. Maybe what the CIA is saying, what the administration is saying, what my local government is saying, what my local news is saying, and kind of waiting to get all the facts, but also to be a bit more investigative.
Mhm.
And I think that's a skill set. I think when people can be really lazy, which is just tell me what to think and tell me what to do,
Right.
versus like are you satisfied with the information that you get that you got? But the thing is like, well, do you think that they know any better? Like maybe not. So kind of what you mentioned before, it's like, all right, there's this kind of divisiveness and these things are being presented to one person and we're trying to find out where's the commonality. Well, if they don't have that skill set and neither do you, then you by default are relegated to your opposing sides. And that sucks because
yeah,
all it takes is just a little bit of communication and dialogue where you can actually find that common ground. Like, oh shit, I didn't even know that. and
hmm
and and I think that that's a communication skill, and it's specifically a mindset of just literally trying to learn. There's this book that I really like called 12 Rules for Life. I read it years ago, like maybe 7 years ago, and one of the chapters is written by Dr. Jordan Peterson, and one of the chapters in the book says, and I'm paraphrasing the chapter, is always assume that another person knows something that you don't. And it's the chapter was basically essentially saying like I can learn something from you. I need to
hmm
assume that you know something that I don't, and I need to have an open mind on it. And I've always found that to be like really powerful. I think if more people, adopted that particular principle of like, you know what, maybe Christian knows something that I don't, and maybe I don't have an opinion or I have an opposing opinion, but maybe he knows something that I don't, and I should just come at it with an open mind and ask him questions and just really also informing Christian like, hey, I'm not trying to judge one way or the other. I just noticed that you are very passionate and knowledgeable about something and I like to learn about it. I just don't know. So when you're saying things kind of in that way, it helps them lower their guard. So it's not
yeah,
like
yeah,
now they're like defensively trying to tell you something and they're being an asshole. Now it's like you're letting them know like I really would like to learn from you. I don't really have an opinion. I heard some things about it, but I'd like to just get educated because I don't really have that much information on it. Can you teach me a little bit? What should I look into?
Oh,
Yeah,
I'd like to know more about you. A little Jordan Peterson.
yeah,
My Jordan Peterson. I got to work on it.
yeah,
Oh,
but
Daniel, I just want to know more about you. It's
yeah,
bloody. It's bloody, bloody hot out there.
yeah,
you're
Shout
almost
out.
there.
Shout out,
yeah.
Peterson.
Yep. You're so close, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but one thing before we wrap up here,
No,
'cause we're
I got a
almost up to
question
the hour.
after you, Daniel. I got a
Okay,
question.
we'll do your question and then
Okay,
I'll
you
ask
don't
mine
mind?
after.
All
Yeah, go
right,
for it. Go for
Antonio. You said you're maybe Dan. You've answered this. All right. You said you're an interracial couple.
Mhm.
What do you eat? Where's the compromise? What how many days are you eating tortillas? I want to know.
So,
Oh, you
so
gave it up.
yeah,
Are you going keto?
so both my wife and I, like, we're foodies, and the thing is like Korean food is pretty fucking bomb.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
like
so she won. Okay, no, you told me. That's it.
like it's
I get
bomb.
it. I get
But
it.
but she
All right.
also loves Mexican food too. And so
What do you like, Antonio?
I you know what? Honestly, like, I kind of I kind of feel like I moved away from a lot of the Mexican route, like
Blink twice,
food.
Antonio.
But
Just tell,
yeah, I
tell
know,
me.
right? I'm held
Are you
hostage.
are
There's a
you
gun over
alone?
here. Yeah. But truthfully, like, we're both like foodies. Like, we really do love food. And I think there was one day that she wanted to just try to make pozole.
Mhm.
She just, like, she went on Chat GPT, is like, I'd like to make pozole, blah blah blah, and she made it her first time. And I gotta admit, as I was like, this is not half bad. It was actually really good. And I think it's because there's a lot of Korean cuisine. That's like a lot of stews. There's Korean barbecue, but it's like basically carne asada. It's just the marinade is a little bit different. So, and
Yep.
then we have like pico de gallo and a lot of our salsas, and they have gochujang, and they have all this other stuff. So there's actually like pretty interesting similarities there, where if you can cook that, you could cook this.
Okay.
And but I actually really like getting into like all different types of food, like French food. I'm a big sucker for Italian. I'm like, we're literally foodies. So our
Okay.
house is not just like one or the other. It's like everything. Where she'll make
Okay.
burger, she'll make whatever. Yeah, yeah. That's a
Okay.
good
Cool.
question.
Yeah,
I
it
just want to see where the divide was.
was.
You,
No
you know,
divide. No divide. It's just the plethora.
no. She, at the beginning of our relationship, like, I remember I offended her one time. It was like the
Oh
only time where she
no.
was like offended, but it wasn't like in a bad way where like, hey, we're gonna break up. I remember telling her, I was like, what's the difference with this food? Like, noodles are noodles. It's just noodles. And she was like, whoa, pump the brakes. And so that day she took me to like an Asian food market, and she was like, there's japchae, udon, ramyun, like all these different types of noodles. And so for like a month, she just cooked, and she made like homemade kimchi. She made these like tofu dishes. She made like ramen. She made these dumplings. She was just cooking to introduce me to Korean cuisine. And her goal was to help me, like, was for me to gain weight, because I was like shredded at the time. I was like Bruce Lee Jr. when we met. And I remember her telling me, she's like, I'm going to give you love handles. And I was like, no, the fuck, you're not. And then like a year, like 6 months go by, or a year later goes by, like I gained like 20 pounds. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
where I live, they just opened a store called Mega Mart. I think it's called Mega Mart, and I think it's a
Mhm.
Korean store. And it's oh man, I love going in there. The prices are low, and it's a toy store for food, man. I
Oh, it's
can't read.
fire.
I can't read nothing in there, but I know what you're talking about with the noodles. There's clear noodles. There's like
Glass
square noodles.
noodles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Tteokbokki,
So
like
yeah,
all this stuff. So
you're,
it's,
you're you're talking to guys that, as far as growing up with noodles, was a styrofoam cup that wasn't supposed to go in the microwave.
I know. You know what? She also introduced me to a bunch of like kind of that microwave noodles, like the stovetop ones, but like the ones from Asia, where it's like their shit is like on another level, like quality ingredients. They're spicy as fuck. You have one bite of that. As a Mexican, I was like, what the fuck is this? How are you supposed to
Mhm.
eat this thing? It's like it's gonna burn a new ring on my asshole like in the next 45 minutes. Like, I'm not gonna eat this shit. But you know what? That's what made it so fun, man. Like, I as I told you before, like, I had a steady diet of white girls and black girls and American women and all that stuff. And then I literally bumped into my wife on the street. Like, I thought she was a crackhead. I almost punched her in the face when we met. I swear to God, I was at night in this part of Reno, Nevada, and I was going back to a bar because we were watching the NBA finals, and I hear someone's like feet coming by me, and I just moved from LA to Reno. And so you don't roll up on someone like that and walking on the street in LA. Like, you're like, you turn around like, yo, and it was her. And she had this like Nike hat, Nike windbreaker, like Nike. She looked like she came out of a Nike commercial, like straight up came from a Nike commercial. and I almost punched her in the face. And then we just started talking, and she was telling me like kind of what she was doing, what she graduated in, and I was just really fascinated. Uh, and I think that's kind of a key ingredient is, there's this saying, true love is falling in love multiple times, always with the same person. And it's been such a privilege to kind of see her go from like girlfriend to fiance to wife to mother. Like she's on her own journey, and I'm like very, very proud of her, of like the woman that she's becoming, the partner that she is to me, the mother she is to our children, our beautiful little kids, how much she loves them and she cares for them. Like it's very lovely to see, and I'm always learning things from her. And I think if anyone is going to get into a relationship and have a family, like be fascinated with the person, not just love them, not just appreciate them, not just be grateful for them, but like allow them to pleasantly surprise you. Allow them to be themselves, where you're just constantly learning and you're like, this is the coolest thing.
No, that's true. So to close this out, last question here. You said your wife was retired, and I know myself. I'm probably a Christian too, because you don't look old. I'm pretty sure you're not that old. For your wife to be retired,
It's the
that's
food.
awesome.
Mhm.
So, you know,
it's
what?
it's actually my birthday, like next week. I turn 39, so I'm almost 40. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I turned 40 last Sunday. No, the one before,
Oh, so
the
you're
21st.
86. You're
Yeah,
86.
86, 86,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah, man.
But for your wife to be retired, like what? Because a lot of people, we live in California. That seems like, damn, that's damn near impossible with all the stuff we got to deal with, right? Taxes, fees, and all that cost of living here. But what kind of encouragement could you give men to be like, hey, this is possible? Um, you know, doing this or sticking to this, or just, you know what I mean? Like, what to close out? What would you tell men just overall that you know might feel like, hey, I'm never gonna get there.
Well,
Hey, if I could do it, you could do it. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think the most important thing is you have to have the right questions for yourself. Like you have to ask the right, like provocative questions. It's provocative questions. And one of the best ones that you can ask is kind of compared to what? Like, this is hard. We're dealing with all these things in California. All right, cool. Well, compared to what? Like, what's so hard? Last time I checked, when I was in California, there's so many millionaires. There's so much money out there. I mean, go to Beverly Hills, go to these other places where like there's so much money. Like, well, how are they making money? How can they do that? What is the skill set that they've acquired that enables them to do that? They got 10 fingers, they got 10 toes, they got a brain, they got ears, they got a mouth, just like you. What's the difference? It's the stuff that's going into your head, and what are the thoughts that are going out of the head. And so if you're already saying like, all right, well, California has high taxes, well, so does Sweden. Sweden's are a lot higher. Switzerland and Norway, they're very high, but there's more millionaires per capita than anywhere else on earth. So what's your problem? What are you trying to say? You kind of creating an obstacle or an excuse, or it's just a reason. And the thing is that there's a lot of kind of ways around it. There's trust that you can do. There's businesses that you can launch. There's insurance policies that you can do that can kind of help reduce down your tax drag legally, where you don't have to kind of do those things. And yeah, someone here says trust fund babies, but like maybe you could be the one that is developing a trust fund for somebody, for your family, and kind of have something in place. Like, why not you? And I think the only thing that's holding people back is basically two things. One is the mindset that you have. Like, are you demonstrating habits of multi millionaires? And by that I mean like habits of your thinking, your food, your spiritual walk of life, those things, right? Because it doesn't really matter if you're maybe like an attorney, or if you're a salesperson doing solar and you're making 300,000 a year, living off of like 100,000 a year. You know what I mean? So it's like all these things. It doesn't really. It first starts with your mindset, because you can have a really talented person that has those skills, but they have a horrible mindset. They beat themselves up. They are filled with doubt. They procrastinate. They look at the negative side of life, right? So you want to get that straightened out first. And the next thing is that you want to layer it with skills that are valuable. In other words, like how large are the problems that you can solve, right? Is it just maybe doing a roof? Like, are you doing roofing? Like, are you doing construction? Or are you solving like multi million dollar problems for people where you get a cut of that, right? So kind of going back at the beginning of the call is like you want to kind of find out things, for yourself. But what you also want to do, what I recommend people do, is do like a behavioral assessment. Um, like yeah Give yourself a behavioral assessment. Some people, they use like MBTI, like the Myers-Briggs test. Some people use the predictive index. Some people, they use DISC. Some people use the Larry Wilson Institute, Enneagram. There's a lot out there, and basically trying to find out where your strengths are and how you are naturally wired. Dan, there's probably going to be some really well-paying jobs or things that you can do that you hate.
Mhm.
You're gonna be like, I don't like doing it, or I'd rather shoot myself in the head than do this. But maybe that very same job is something I can give to Christian, or it's a business he can start where it's like he is in the zone. He loves it. So doing those things on yourself is going to help you basically understand like what your temperament is, how you're wired, your natural inclinations. And then now when you have your mindset really strong and powerful, it's grounded, you're disciplined. Then you layer it with something that's in alignment with you, of your skills and your wiring, that could help you basically move in the direction of where you could solve larger problems, therefore get more money. And that's what I would say to do. So kind of going back to the whole thing of like, my wife and I, is like, that's what I really had to dig in and do, where like I'm making money here where I'm supporting, but I can do more. And I felt like when you have a child and when you have a wife and everything is on you, you can choose to not just feel bad for yourself, but you can choose to be like, okay, what can I absorb and internalize that'll help me level up? What are some of the things that I feel like I'm good at? Where are my gaps at? And then who can I connect with that can help me? It's like not there's this book called Who Not How by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. And what that book basically says is that a lot of people, especially I would say Mexicans too, is that you have to, a lot of them kind of burden themselves with like, I need to learn this and I need to learn this and I need to do this. And I don't want to bother anybody else. And that's not entrepreneurship, and that's not success, and that's not wealth. Um, People love collaborations and partnerships. So if you have an idea, you want to connect with somebody that can kind of help you get there. And maybe there's something that you bring to the table that they can benefit from. And it's a great cross pollination. It's a great back and forth. It's a great partnership that can be developed. So find who can also help you in that journey, because once they figure out like what your goals are, which could be, hey, I just want to double or triple my income so I can bring my wife home. What can I do to do that? It's all right. I make 10,000 now. I need to make 30,000. All right. What? Now we can begin. Now we have a target.
Mhm.
So I like doing it kind of that way. So I encourage people to just operate in a place of abundance. That it is possible. There's other people that are doing it. You just need to discover that secret sauce that works for you, and then just get after it.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Well, Antonio, thank you for coming on the show, for your time, for your insight. Picked up a lot of stuff,
Mhm.
and hopefully we can have you on again,
Yeah.
and we can talk about other things. We can. Do you want to do an episode all on sports? Shit. Hey,
Sport.
Kristen, did they win?
Who
I think
did?
I
Oh,
think
No,
we
I'm
won.
asking if. I hope so.
I can hear Levi Stadium from where I'm at right now, and they're still screaming.
All right, cool. USA.
Yeah.
yeah.
But now, Antonio, go ahead.
There was a person in the comments that's saying they were a real estate broker, and I think that's a really good example of someone that can leverage other people. So like if like to me, like if someone, like if you guys are in real estate and you're just like a realtor, and then eventually you start getting licensed to become a broker, you start building and having all that, like you can build really good wealth and then have that and get like mortgage offices and all kinds of really cool stuff. I just saw someone kind of make that comment, and as like
Yeah.
that type of person is on the right track, because you're leveraging other people's times. And I think if more people started to learn how to do that, especially in our culture, I think people can take leaps and bounds in terms of resources and kind of the ability to, bring your wife home, help with kids, do all that stuff. So, yeah, it's good stuff.
Stuff, man. All right, guys. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll definitely catch you on the next one. Like always, peace be with you.